Hi, you're listening to the Content Sales Podcast, the show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 275. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hi, Suzi. I'm really well. And, I seem to be excited about all the topics, but I am really excited about today's topic because we're diving into something that's really everywhere in marketing, but most people don't have a system for it. And what we're talking about today is social proof.
Yeah, this is a topic I'm really excited about talking about as well. And exactly what you said, those signals that have people trust you is exactly what social proof gives us. And it's evidence that others have bought your product or service and worked with you in some way and they've had a good result. And so social proof can be a testimonial, it can be a case study, it can be a screenshot of a happy client's email to you, or it can be a comment on your social media channels even. It could be a 5-star review, or it could be before and after results, or even just someone tagging you online randomly saying how great you are. And social proof is so important because as consumers, as buyers ourselves, we tend to believe other people more than we believe any business that's trying to get our business.
Exactly. We can be a little bit suspicious of somebody that's saying, I'm great. But when somebody else says it who's not, doesn't have a vested interest. And that's exactly why we go to the restaurant with the long queue out the door, or while we go to the client review section on a clothing website before buying that new dress. And I have to say, Suzi, I'm doing that more and more with my online purchases. I'm going and looking at, what others are saying about them online. It's also us asking a friend, hey, who did you get to renovate your bathroom? Would you recommend them? But here's the problem. As fabulous as social proof is, a lot of business owners actually have social proof, but they just don't use it. And they don't use it because they don't have a system for making it easy to use and easy for your prospective clients to see right where it matters. And the place where it matters most is where they're evaluating you, whether they'll opt in for your free thing, whether they will book in for that appointment, whether they will buy your product or service. And most social proof is either buried in inboxes or direct messages or chat threads or on a testimonial page no one ever visits, or they posted it on your social site like Suzi was saying, and then you just went, thank you very much, and moved on, right? It's not being collected in the first place. And that means potential clients have to go back to taking your word for it instead of seeing evidence, social proof that what you sell is really awesome. And newsflash, if you're not adding social proof to your marketing, it is definitely hurting your sales.
Because no matter what you sell, if people can't see proof that what you do works, it just takes that much longer for them to trust you. And that is the truth whether you're selling a $47 course or a $10,000 service. Because what it does is it does the heavy lifting and the belief building right there for you. So it also shortens the time it takes for someone to make a decision, right? Like Michelle said, she's looking at the other reviews. It makes her decision time so much shorter. It also takes away the risk in our client's mind. Like if it worked for them, they survived this process, they bought that pair of shoes, and it was good quality, then I feel safe to also take the risk of clicking that buy button. We have to remember that buy button can be a really scary thing. People don't want to be caught off guard. So in today's episode, we're going to walk you through a simple 3-step system for capturing and creating and publishing social proof that actually sells your offers, whether they're big offers or small offers. And you're going to be able to use this to turn the everyday wins that you are already having in your business, they're already happening, you're going to be able to turn them into marketing assets that do a lot of the selling for you out into the future. And there are 3 steps that we're going to work through. Number 1 is capturing your social proof. Number 2 is creating your social proof. And number 3 is publishing it. And before we dive into more detail on those steps, let's just dial back a sec and take a moment to chat about why social proof matters so much. Because really, Michelle and I believe this is not a nice to have in your marketing. It's actually one of the 6 core influence principles that Robert Cialdini talks about in his book, Influence. That's Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. Now, that is a book that if you're a long-time listener of this show, you have heard us mention many, many times, and we highly recommend that you grab a copy, you read it, and you keep it close by. I know we've dug back into it many, many times over the years since we first read it, because it's really a manual for influencing your market and really understanding the psychology of persuasion. And we'll put a link to that title in our show notes while we move on here. So social proof is such an important persuader that you really want to have it dialed in when it comes to your business and your marketing.
I 100% agree with that statement. Social proof, really, it's that psychological phenomenon. Like, we are hardwired for this as human beings. Our psychology is to look at what others are doing and what's working for others, or where it's safe. It comes back to our kind of, earliest days as human beings, where if you saw people around you running, you just started running because something was probably chasing you that wanted to eat you. So we're really looking to the actions, the opinions, the results of others to determine what's credible, what's trustworthy, and what's worth our attention. And in marketing terms, social proof is really the evidence that shows others have gone before you and it worked for them. So as you're thinking about your social proof, how can you show that to people who are ready to buy from you? Social proof really bridges the gap between doubt and decision. And right now, everybody out there has got doubt. Can you deliver on it? Is it good quality? Will it happen in the time? Can I do this? All of those things. And you want to transform that doubt into decision. And you do that by turning your own kind of claims into visible, believable proof of the transformation that you provide. So, for example, if you're a business coach, you could share a short video where your client says, hey, before working with you, I was stuck at $5,000 months, and last month I crossed $20,000 revenue for the month for the first time. That's evidence that when you go out and say, I can help you grow your monthly income, this is somebody saying, hey, it really did work for me. Or imagine you're a nutritionist reposting a client's Instagram story showing her new meal prep routine. So one of your clients is posting saying, hey, in 3 weeks into this meal prep, I finally feel in control of my energy. That would be something you would want to share. Or during your webinar, let's say you're on a webinar, you read out a live chat comment from one of the participants. They might say, hey, I used your checklist yesterday and I already booked 2 new consults. These and so many more use cases are all examples of social proof, and it can show up in all kinds of places and spaces. But just as we launch pad off into this episode, we wanted to just really get aligned on what we mean by social proof. It's that basic human need to look to others for cues on what's safe or smart to do. When we see other people getting results, our brain goes, this is real. And, it's not just about the psychology that we're kind of hardwired for. It's really practical too. When someone's investing time or money with you, especially if you sell high ticket offers, but this applies to all price tags, big or small, they want reassurance that it's worth it, that it does what it says on the tin. And social proof does that instantly. And I really think that's what makes it so powerful. It's not you saying, look how good I am. It's your client saying, look what's possible. Look at the good things that happened to me as a result of buying this product or signing up for this course or using this service. And it's this flipping of the energy from self-promotion to actually letting your clients, your successful customers tell the story that is the cornerstone of social proof.
Yeah. And we've seen this inside the Her Business community again and again. When a member shares a genuine win, like I finally raised my prices and signed my best client yet, it doesn't just celebrate her, it inspires others. They're in the right place. This is social proof in action. I'm part of something that is great. I'm part of a community that has women winning in business. And so we've developed many systems inside of Her Business to capture those moments so that we can use that social proof not just once when it happens organically, but over and over again in all kinds of marketing down the line. And we'll give you some examples.
Exactly. And once you understand how to systemize your social proof using the simple process we're going to share today, so it's not random or occasional, it becomes this beautiful feedback loop because the proof that you've now got better at capturing and creating and publishing fuels this trust in the market. And trust in the people that are looking at your offers and looking at your content fuels sales. And guess what happens? When the sales are fueled and you're getting more sales, you're creating more proof. And it's this lovely kind of virtuous cycle that gives you more proof, that fuels more trust, that fuels more sales, and so on. And that's the flywheel we want to help you build today by creating a system.
So let's get into it with step one of this 3-step process. And step one is capture. So as the name suggests, this is where we start spotting and collecting the gold that's possibly already sitting under your nose. It's already coming into your business. And this is where most people already have what they need. They're just not noticing it, or if they do notice it, they don't have a system to capture that social proof so that it can be used again and again, because it is gold, as we've said a couple of times. And here's the thing. Social proof doesn't always come dressed as a formal testimonial. It can be a throwaway line on a Zoom call where someone says, "I can't believe how much easier this feels now." Or a direct message that says, "I just wanted to let you know I finally launched my course." And these little gold nuggets are also what we want to start capturing intentionally. And this is where a system makes all the difference. If you rely on remembering later, you're likely to miss it. Or you have to go digging for it later, trying to figure out, did they email me? Was it on Instagram or Facebook? Where the heck is it? And so a system is what we're inviting you to set up, and it doesn't have to be complicated. At Her Business, we have a channel in our Slack account. Now, Slack is our instant messaging system that we use inside of Her Business. And that is called Wins and Shares. And my team and I are all trained to take screenshots of any form of social proof, whether it's a social media comment, a chat comment on a webinar, a podcast review on Apple Podcasts, an email we get to our help desk, you name it, we capture it. So the first step for all of us is to post it in the Wins and Shares channel on Slack so that the whole team can see it and it's captured. And then that bit of social proof is named and filed in our Dropbox account in the relevant folder. And what I mean by that is it's going to be categorized depending on whether it's social proof about one of our events or the Her Business Network or a podcast episode or one of our free resources or about one of the elements of our membership. For example, our growth groups, which are our peer-to-peer accountability groups, they often get a lot of unsolicited love inside of our Facebook group. And so anytime we see these and we capture them, we sort them, name them, and file these pieces so that we can easily access them when needed. So when we're writing copy for a launch or we're creating slides for an event, we have a whole library of real results ready to go. And we know to find what has been captured because it's all organized. It's also a repository of resources for our customer service team. So if they're speaking to someone and they need an example of where someone had a success at something that they might be looking into possibly buying, they have a whole library of stories that they can share because it has been captured.
It's so good, Suzi. And surprise, Suzi and the team has a fantastic system for this. It is such a great way that you are capturing social proof that's already happening out there in the world. And you're right, you will not remember that 6 months ago somebody made that post and exactly where it is. And even if you do remember, finding it is such a hassle. So I just want to tease out a couple of really awesome things Suzi shared there. I really love making the team aware to be looking for social proof as well, so that if you work with other people in your organization, who are the people that might come across social proof? Like if you have a salesperson and, they're done a follow-up call with a client and the client says something amazing, what are you doing, or how are you educating that salesperson to capture that? And how are you supporting them to do that? And you want to make that repository the place you're first capturing things. So for Suzi, it's Slack. You want to make that repository something your team has access to. So it's easy, it's frictionless. And you want to, as Suzi's done and illustrated so beautifully, think about categorization. Am I just going to whack all this in one folder, or are we going to think about it by our product set or by the features of the product, et cetera? And what notes do you want to capture? What program was it? Who was it that said this? Any special context? You want to capture the actual evidence. And this is where I think a lot of people skip over it. The actual screenshot of the email is what you want to have access to. You don't want to sanitize this. A lot of people go and sort of take the words and just put them in a pretty design, which is fine sometimes, but you want to have the original source material and you want to be sharing that. That is actually much stronger social proof because you can't kind of argue with that. Of course, you want to hide like mobile numbers, it was a text message or an email address or other private information when you share this. And obviously, we'll talk about permission a little later when we talk about publishing. So the other thing is the spoken word is a great thing to capture. So yes, there might be things that are posted in written form or people sharing photographs, etc. But someone reporting a win at your coaching session, you want to have a way to capture that also. How do you document that? How do you write that down and provide that information, who it was and any special context regarding that?
Yeah, so as you're listening, think of what that capture step could look like for you. It could be a simple Google Doc or an Excel spreadsheet, or like us, a wins-related Slack channel. It could be a Dropbox folder. Here's the goal. Make it easy. Make it easy for you, make it easy for your team, and make it as automatic and systemized as possible so that nobody has to think too hard to make it happen, to just get the captures in the first place.
Yeah, and while we've been sort of talking about the social proof that might be coming to you, you know, the gold that's already sitting at your feet, part of this step of capturing social proof is about asking for proof on purpose, having a system for getting that positive piece of feedback. So sometimes the best stories never surface because we never ask the question. You know, a mutual friend of Suzi's and mine, Valerie Koo, she runs the Australian Writers Centre. And what she does is months after somebody's completed a course, they'll reach out and say, how are you going? Because they know that somebody might have got a book deal in that time. Somebody might have published their book in that time. Somebody might have had a great win in their business if it's a business writing course. And so they've systemized capturing that social proof at a point where it really makes sense. And it might be a simple outreach. Hey, it's been a couple of months since you completed the program. We're checking in to see what results you have. Or it could be, hey, I love talking to you today on our coaching call about your wins. Would you mind if I've captured a couple of the things you said. Would you mind if I, use some of this in an upcoming testimonial or in an upcoming case study? So we've just had a situation where one of our masterminders tripled her goal for the year within just the first 3 months of joining Mastermind. Now, that's a great win. That's something we want to share. Now, she's reported it inside the group as a win. And so we've made a note to follow her up to do a more detailed case study on that. You want to be thinking about where can I be systemizing capturing the social proof on purpose?
So there are things that happen organically, like you've just heard us mention, and also building systems for asking for social proof at specific moments in your process. And those moments are so important to capture, while very close to the occurrence, right? Not letting it go too far. In the case that Michelle mentioned about Australian Writers Centre, of course, it makes sense, to wait until someone's had results. They've gone through your program, they've done the 10 sessions of psychotherapy, whatever it is. And in other instances, the timing is going to be right when they said it, right after they said it. Now, if you're a website developer, for example, that moment might be when you deliver the website to your client and they sign off on it. So right there and then you want to have something in your system that triggers a request for a testimonial. And it could be part of the conversation in your delivery meeting, and then you come back to them. If you're a vocal coach, for example, it could be right after your client delivers that first presentation that they're delivering using the method that they learnt from you. Or if you, for example, sell skincare, it could be the email that someone gets after you've delivered their order to ask them for an online review. I mean, I even get leave us a Google review from my hairdresser almost every time I go. And so I don't leave a review every time. Obviously, that wouldn't make sense. But, after they did it a couple of times, I'm like, yeah, I'm really happy with this service. I'm going to go ahead and leave a review. And it was a 5-star review, and they can capture that and they can use that, wherever they want. So if you're focusing on this capture step, think about what parts of your process you could build a social proof capturing system into.
Yeah, and just bear in mind, social proof doesn't have to be something dramatic. Although, of course, some big transformation can be awesome to share, like the masterminder who's, tripled her results in just the first 3 months. But actually, you don't need the $1 million story. You just need to show that people are changing, people are getting outcomes, people are getting progress because of what you offer. And sometimes it's the small wins that feel more doable and believable for your prospective clients, and you want to be sharing that. Don't kind of think, well, I can only share the outrageously successful clients. It's actually a bit of a mistake when it comes to social proof. So if somebody's just starting out and you're sharing a mega win, even though it's a really great story, it could start to feel impossible or overwhelming for that person that's just beginning. But if you're sharing social proof or a story or evidence of someone just like them who got a small win, that could feel very motivating and very encouraging to somebody who's thinking about working with you. So just a little kind of note to pop into your mind. Don't overlook a lot of the great social proof that's likely available to you here at the Capture Step.
The other thing on what Michelle's saying there is for your social proof to reflect the ideal client that you want. So if you are looking, for example, with her business, if we're looking to work with women with established businesses who are generating more than your average small business, who are looking to grow a team and become better leaders, then sharing someone who just, had their very first newbie win, it's going to discourage the right customer from coming our way because it feels elementary. So just knowing who your ideal customer is, you just want to keep that in mind as well. So yes, the small wins matter because we're all in a process, right? What might be a no-brainer for Michelle might be really difficult for me and vice versa. And so just know the continuum that your clients are on. And as Michelle said, don't underestimate the early wins, the ones that show if it's possible in the world, it's possible for me. So there's a little exercise I'd love for you to do no matter where you are, if you're walking the dog, if you're at your desk, wherever you are, when you can think about it or jot this down. Have a think about 2 or 3 recent wins that your clients have had, big wins and small wins. And then make a note of where those wins were reported or shared. Was it in an email? Was it a direct message? Was it a comment direct to you? Now, this is a great place to start thinking about your capture system. Where are you getting those social proof opportunities? Where are they showing up? Which channels? How do you get more of those social proof instances? Who on your team can capture those? And we're going to come back to this, like who is going to own the job of capturing them? And then when they capture them, where will they put them and organize them? How are you going to find them next time you're there? As I mentioned, everyone on our team is on the lookout for wins. We all screenshot them or make a note of them in our one channel. Then one person has the role of actually categorizing and sorting and filing them for future use. So there's nothing falls through the cracks because there is a very clear person responsible for this step.
I love it. I love it. So that's step 1, capture. And it's a 3-part system for capturing, creating, and publishing your social proof. And that's going to lead us nicely into step 2, which is create. Because once you've started spotting and collecting those gold nuggets of feedback and social proof, it's time to shape that social proof into something more powerful. You've got something to work with. Let's create specific uses of this social proof. And this is where you want to take that raw proof you've captured and turn it into compelling marketing assets that will motivate your prospective clients to buy from you. Because that nice comment sitting in your inbox, that screenshot of a result, that photo your client sent you, even if you have the best capture system in the world, they're not proof yet. They're raw materials. So now you want your social proof system to extend to what you do with the raw materials that you capture. And there are so many different ways to shape proof, to mold it. It's like you've got the raw clay in your hands. What are you going to turn it into? A statue, a bowl, a vase? So it really does. There's many ways you can go with this. You don't have to limit yourself to a written testimonial. And we want to walk you through a few examples. And this is by no means exhaustive, but it's just a few things to help you to start to see what's possible and what this create step involves and looks like. So let's say you're a meta ads coach. You help people put their ads successfully onto the meta platforms like Facebook and Instagram. A client sends you a screenshot of their dashboard comparing last month's pretty average results with this month's exceptionally better results. And that just happens to coincide with when they started using you. Your antenna is up. Just as Suzi was demonstrating, her and her team, they have their antenna up for the wins. This is social proof you want to capture, part one. So you do. But then what do you create with that? You could crop that image that you've been sent and add a caption to it. $2,500 spent, $15,000 earned 1 week after applying our campaign tweaks. And maybe that image gets used as a social media post or other things later in the publish step. You could create a short case study where you are showing what changed in their targeting and using that image as evidence of their results. And there's all sorts of places at the publish step that you can use that case study. You could use it as a slide that you put into presentations like your next webinar or when you're teaching on optimization. And that's just for starters, just to give you a sense of what this create step involves.
And it's not just for coaching and consulting services that this works. It would be really narrow-minded for us to think that, oh, this isn't for me. You really want to think about, how does this work in my industry? So imagine you build swimming pools and your client sends you an email saying, we finally have the backyard of our dreams. The kids haven't been out of the pool all weekend. This is raw material that you want to capture and have a system for storing in a way that you can use it. Now, for the create step, for this particular example, you could ask for a photo of the finished pool and turn it into a before and after image of their backyard and use that on social media or on your website or in your client proposals when you're putting forward an estimate to build a similar type of pool in the future. You could write back and say that you'd love to come out and film a short video testimonial. You could take a screenshot of the email and add it to your website alongside other testimonials. In some of these cases, you'll want to get permission, of course, but it's all there, raw material. You could use the screenshot in your newsletter, the one that you send out to people who are thinking about having a pool installed. There are so many things that you can create with this raw material, and why that capture stage is essential to being able to now do the create step.
I love that example of the pool. And, you know, you're absolutely right. We've looked at coaching and consulting, and that totally works for that space. And we've looked at a physical product, a very big physical product, a swimming pool. And, you know, if you sell a small physical product like skincare or any physical product, it works. And it also, if you're thinking, well, I don't do either of those things, I provide a service, then guess what? It works for you too. So let's say you're a copywriter. You're providing a service. Somebody hires you, you write a series of emails. Let's say you're a physiotherapist, whatever it might be, you provide an actual service. But let's stick with the copywriter example. A client says, hey, I'm so excited, my email open rates just doubled. Now, that one line from your client could become, you know, that raw material could be created and sort of used in a variety of formats in a variety of ways. It could be that you decide every Friday you're going to do a proof Friday or a, you know, client story Friday, where you make a post on your social media channels sharing some result from that week that a client shared with you. So it could become the raw material for that. It could become something that you use in a sales presentation or even a sales conversation where you use that quote verbally. It could be something that you put on the slide as a screenshot or with that person's photo and nice text, however you want to do it. It could be a story highlight on Instagram where you put all your client results in one place. So if somebody's kind of scrutinizing you online, and Suzi, I'm doing this more and more too, going to people's Instagram and Facebook and just kind of checking them out, their previous posts. I will go and look at their highlights. That's another place you can be kind of sharing this information. And what you're hearing in all these examples is that the format can change, but the job of the proof stays the same, to help someone picture this result in their own life.
Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't just apply to getting new clients. I just want to make that really clear. So, for example, in our weekly newsletter, one of the things that we always share is the wins that our members are happening. And we capture those during the week. We do a post every week to get their wins and shares, what's going on in their business. And sometimes people just, you know, post organically when something fabulous is happening in their business. And we capture those. And then every week when we've got a newsletter, we've got a segment which is all about what's happening in the community. And so maybe right now you're a women business owner, you're struggling a little bit in your business, but you're part of this community and you see that someone else has had a win. that will raise the vibration for the whole community, because it's going to show this small win, this slightly bigger win, this, hitting the ball out of the park kind of win. But it's a great stick strategy, if you like. It's great social proof to help people know that I'm in the right place. And so, yeah, I just want to make that distinction. It's not just for acquiring new business. It's also for maintaining your existing clients or having people come back. And so with what Michelle was saying is you're turning data or emotion into a visual shareable story. And that makes it really powerful. It makes it very tangible. So as you think about the create step, look at some of the things you're collecting at the capture step and ask yourself, how could I format or present this? And there's often more than one way, but don't overthink it. Start by looking at what kind of proof you've got. Is it a quote, a number, a photo, a screenshot, a video, a story? And some of these, you can just go between media. Like if it is a video, you could make it, text as well, or you could change it up. Then ask, what's the easiest way for people to see this and get it instantly? Where am I going to put it? In what format? In order for it to do the conversion job I'm wanting it to do.
Absolutely. And I really love what you said about not overthinking it. And, once your system's really up and running, you can repurpose this 20 different ways to Sunday. And you want to start with just like keeping the main thing. So like what you're saying, what is the easiest way for people to see this and get this instantly? So if it's a visual you've been given, show it. How do I take this visual and put it into the size of an Instagram post with a caption on it or whatever it needs to be? If it's emotional, quote it. So as you're talking to another client, share that emotion from the other client that said was so happy when they finally figured out how to write their signature story that they cried, which is what somebody said to me recently. If it's measurable, graph it. If they've sent you 3 or 4 numbers, or they said last year I was making half the money I'm making now, how do you turn that into a graph or something that shows those numbers in a way that makes sense? If it's a transformation, how do you tell that transformation? It's a story. It's you saying the story on a video. It's you writing it in text format. It's you showing it over 3 or 4, images that you can use as a carousel post. And when you start doing this often, you realize proof isn't just something you collect. It's content fuel. Every win can become a post, a story, a slide, an email. And you can use it over and over again in different scenarios and at different times, to what Suzi was saying. And if you want help shaping that raw material, this is where AI can be fantastic to give you ideas or to do part of this create step for you. And we've got a great episode we recorded recently with Tina Tower on using custom GPTs. And if you're regularly getting people who are loving your podcast and sharing reviews on Apple Podcast, you could create a little custom GPT that does 5 things with that raw material, that turns it into 5 different things. So your turn moment, we're turning this back onto you now to think about, well, this is great information, but how do I relate it to me? So your turn right now is to pick one piece of raw social proof that you've captured earlier, and it might have been something that's sitting in a file for a long time, or that you could go and capture today, and brainstorm at least 3 different ways that you could bring it to life here at this create step. And you might want to go, maybe what could I do visually? What's something I could do visually? What's something I could write? What's something I could turn into a bit of a story? Or maybe you're really great on video and you just want to get onto a reel on Instagram and talk about this. Just what are at least 3 different ways that you could bring that social proof to life? And remember, this is not about bragging. Sometimes we feel, I couldn't do that, I'll be bragging. This is about helping potential clients, or, to the great point Suzi made, people who are in your world right now and have to weigh up whether they'll renew their monthly membership or whatever it is with you at the end of the month. It's about helping those people believe that success is possible for them. And I think that's one of our most important jobs. That's what helps people cross over and work with us, believing they can do it, they can have this. And if you believe in your product and service, and I know you have a great product or service, we want to do everything we can to help as many people as possible to use it. So once you've created your social proof in a format that's going to impact your audience, the final step in our simple 3-part system is to make sure people actually see it.
Right. So we've talked about capturing, getting it, in your hot little hands in the first place, and then creating it, What is the format? Where am I going to put it? And then step 3 is publish, which is really, now that I've got it and I've created it, where am I going to post it? Where am I going to share it? You've captured it. You've created something using the raw material. Time to publish. Because even the best proof can't build trust if nobody sees it. And when Michelle and I presented a session similar to what this podcast episode is about, what we found was that women were sitting on the most amazing social proof, but no one was ever seeing it. And so we want to move from collecting nice things people say about us to really using it to create compounding results. Every time you publish proof, social proof, it keeps working for you long after you post it. But the trick is to be really intentional about where and how you share it. So let's have a look at some examples. Say you're that Facebook ads coach that Michelle was mentioning earlier. You've got a screenshot showing a client's return on their advertising spend, which you turned into a post explaining what changed in their targeting on their ads. Now it's time to get that post into your social media calendar so it can be published on the relevant platforms. Now, this is social proof that could go on your Facebook page, it could go on your Instagram profile, it could go on LinkedIn, it could be part of an email to your email list. And think about, when is the best time to post it? Does it relate to a specific offer or campaign coming up? So could it play the role of teasing something that you're going to start getting more vocal about on those marketing channels, and it's part of that campaign? And then what's your publishing system to ensure the social proof you're capturing is being shared at the time that it's going to give you the best outcome? Right? Some of the social proof might be just a, nurturing, everyday kind of post, but some of them are going to be very specific to, if you're strategic about it, to giving you the best outcome. So some of the questions you're going to want to answer are, when it comes to publishing, is who will own the task of publishing? Again, this is why all this great social proof sits unseen, is because as business owners, we're often wearing so many hats that the idea of actually also being the person to publish it just doesn't happen. It's not the top priority. But if you ask yourself who, not how, who will own the task of publishing, that would be really important to do. And how will we choose what gets published and when? So the goal is to make publishing your social proof a recurring rhythm, not a random act that happens whenever. So how do you bake in the publishing part of this social proof system into your marketing rhythm? And once again, who is going to own that task? Maybe it is you. But maybe if it is you, then it's about, okay, well, Monday mornings from 9 till 10 is when I'm scheduling my, I'm going to focus on social proof. Somebody needs to own it if it's going to happen consistently.
Yeah, this is such great advice, Suzi. And the other thing is, you're thinking about that publish step, and we mentioned this a little earlier, is what permissions do I need? So my default position, Suzi, I know yours also, is like always err on the side of asking. So, if you want to post a case study, write it out and then send it to that client and say, hey, would you mind if we shared this story? Here's what I'm thinking of sharing. And then they can say, yeah, go for it. Or actually, I love that, but would you just take that final paragraph out? I don't really want to share that part. Or actually, no, I'm not okay with that. And that's all okay too, right? So you want to, as you have that person who's responsible for publishing, you want to make sure part of that system is also that it's been ticked for approval. Now, sometimes you can just speak generically about something, like we mentioned that masterminder earlier. We haven't mentioned her name. We haven't given any specifics about her situation that you would be able to sort of know who it is. And so you can, speak generally like that. But if you're sharing someone's identity on your website, in an email, on social media, it is a good idea to get their permission. Was there anything you wanted to add about that, Suzi?
No. Again, it's trust your gut on it, but and how sensitive is the information? How detailed is it? Like if you are, saying, well, this client went from $150,000 income to $1 million income, do they want that information out there? Do they want their competitors seeing it or their team seeing it, etc.? So just think about what is it that I'm sharing. And I think most people love to have their story shared. And so just run it past them, especially if it's an in-depth case study, which is wonderful for both parties. Just run it past them. I have, a couple of times stumbled and thought, oh, this should be okay. And then someone said, you know what, my business has changed. Or I no longer do that, or that's no longer accurate. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll pull it down.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in some scenarios, like what you said about trusting your gut, if somebody's come to your live event and, at the back of the room, you had a camera and they said, this is the best event I've ever been to. Well, oftentimes you can get them to sign something when they come in, but even so, it's kind of implied that, oh, look, I said that and I was there and I was, part of it, and they said something pretty innocuous, and you want to make a little video with 10 people in it, you're not necessarily having to email all of those people. But if they said something sensitive or you weren't sure or, just trust your gut. And for me, I just tend to err on the side of letting people know. So here's what I love about all of that we've been talking about today, Suzi, is that when you share your proof consistently, and that's what a system helps you to do, I think, create consistency. We can all get on the bender of I must share more social proof, and we do it all kind of manually and it drifts off again after a couple of months. But when you have a system, you can do this week in, week out. You create this culture of celebration. You're celebrating the achievements and the progress of your clients. And it's this wonderful kind of feedback loop. Your clients feel proud. Your audience feels inspired. Your business will just begin to feel more and more trustworthy and attractive as a result of that.
I am so proud of the Her Business team and all the hard work every single person on the team does to serve our customers. And so in that comment you just made about celebration, even in the capturing of the wins, it just lets everyone on the team know, wow, we are really making a difference to people's lives. We are really, because not everything we do works, right? Just like you and anybody in business. But when things are working, when people are having progress, I think that celebration is as important for your internal team and for you to see the impact you make as it is for celebrating the business externally or using social proof to bring in new business. So as you're listening, think about how you can better systemize your publishing so that you are regularly including social proof in what you do. So for example, you might start simple and say, I'm going to pick 3 places that I can share social proof on a regular basis. It's going to be in my weekly newsletter, it's going to be on my socials, and it's going to be in my regular market update report that I run for my industry or whatever it is. Also think about where you could use social proof specifically as part of an upcoming campaign. So if you're about to run your annual summer sale for your skincare brand, can you start sharing stories from people who've used your sunscreen and loved it? Could you make sure that you build in some of those stories on the page you send people to? In the social media, like everywhere that's relevant for that. So it's easy to decide what you'll post, where you'll post it, who's going to post it, and the call to action. How easy have you made that for yourself? If it's not easy, if it's not down, written, systemized, it could be a sign that the publish part of your social proof system could do with some work, or that's where it might fall over. So you really want to look at that again. I've decided what I'm going to post, where I'm going to post it, who's going to post it, and what the outcome, what the call to action is for that piece of social proof, right? Because we don't close that loop and we're just capturing and just creating, but we're not really looking at the publishing, the system's going to fall over.
Yeah, could not agree more with that. And guess what, Suzi? We've just done it, the 3 parts of the social proof system. This, it's pretty simple, and by deliberate design, keep it simple because then you can do it. It's this 3-step rhythm you can use to build more trust and sell more effortlessly and get that culture of celebration happening and, have people really drawn to you. Step 1, capture. Spot and collect the gold that's already around you, the wins, the kind words, the numbers, the screenshots, and also what are you going to ask for? Spot the moments where you can proactively harvest more social proof. And proof doesn't actually start when you ask for it. It starts when you notice it, when you notice the moment that you want to be asking for proof, where you notice the moment where somebody sent you that email or made that post on social media. Noticing is what you want to really train your brain for this capture step. Step 2, create. Shape that raw feedback into powerful proof elements. Turn a casual comment or a stat into a story, a visual, a shareable moment that helps potential clients imagine what's possible for them. And then step 3, publish. Get that proof out into the world consistently and strategically.
And remember, social proof that's hidden in a folder somewhere on your desktop, it's not going to build trust. It needs to be out there. So when you can get that capture, create, publish cycle systemized in your business, you can quite quickly build a lot of trust that turns into sales, and it will work for you forever once it's out there. And we've seen this system work across every kind of business. Excuse me, from masterminders who are running high-ticket coaching programs to tradespeople to consultants to designers. Everyone benefits from some social proof in their marketing, because it's not just about selling. It's about showing what's possible when someone comes into your world. It's evidence of the transformation that you create, and it's a celebration, as Michelle said, of your client's success. And kind of sideways, your success as well. And that energy is really magnetic for more people like them to come towards you.
For sure. And social proof, as we've been saying, it really compounds. The more you share it, the stronger your reputation becomes. And if you'd like to go deeper into systems like this, ones that help your content to sell more easily, this is the Content Sells podcast. We'd love you to join us inside the Marketing Success Mastermind. It's where we help you build marketing rhythms like this, build campaigns and content plans that attract ideal clients and grow your business in a really sort of consistent and sustainable way. And you can find out more at herbusinessmastermind.com.
Great. So in a moment, I'm going to share a link to the show notes for this episode so that you can stay tuned in to what's coming up. But first, we love sharing tips like these with business owners. We've seen people listen to the show, put something in place, write to us and say how something really changed in their business. So we love to share them with as many women as possible. And so what really helps with that, and I'm going to ask you a favor right now, is if you could leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. The show already has over 100 5-star reviews. So I want to say thank you for being here and for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode or any episode of the show, we would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen. And someone who's been listening is actually from the UK. Michelle and I were trying to figure out, is this someone we know? And it's not. It's someone who's found us online, and that's Sarah Brabham. And she's a British wildlife sculptor, Sarah. She tunes in from her studio in Yorkshire, where she creates tactile, soulful sculptures inspired by her personal encounters with wildlife, which sounds phenomenal. We're going to put a link to her website on our show notes. And here is what Sarah said. Firstly, 5-star review. She said, generous and knowledgeable. This podcast is given from such a place of generosity. The content these ladies provide us with is so helpful, and I'm so grateful for all the work they put into this podcast and for sharing it with us all. Thank you. Sarah Brabham from the United Kingdom. Thank you so much for leaving that on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate it. So anything we've mentioned here on the show can be found in today's show notes, which you'll find over at herbusiness.com/social proof system. That's herbusiness.com/social proof system. That is all one word. Michelle, tell us what's coming up in the next episode.
Well, you know what I love about this show? We are pretty, we'll dig into the new strategies and new tech, but so much of good marketing is following these foundations. Social proof is one of those solid foundations. And next episode, we're going to be talking about another really important foundation. Like, just keep the main thing in your marketing and you will succeed. And this is, how do you handle objections? Dun, dun, dun. We often shy away from when somebody says, well, I don't know if I've got time for this. But we're going to be talking about how you can flip the script, how you can turn objections all the way around into persuasive benefits. And that's exactly what you need to be doing, along with providing social proof and all the other good things. But you need to be addressing the objection. Somebody wants to buy from you when they start sharing their objection with you, and you need to help them see how working with you is going to actually save them time, or how the cost of not doing this thing or that thing is actually going to cost more than the objection they've got around how much money they have to invest to work with you, and so on. We're going to dig into how you flip the script on that in the next show.
And that is coming up 2 weeks from now. So you definitely want to be subscribing to the show. If you don't already, just hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. And to what Michelle was saying, we can so often be stopped by a no. And as we go out there, as we make our offers, as we become more visible, we're going to get more no's than we do yeses. Most of us. I would say definitely most of us. And so how do we turn that on its head? How do we, as Michelle said, flip the script? It's going to be a great episode coming up 2 weeks from now. We look forward to having you at that episode. Before we close out today, Michelle, is there anything you want to say?
I just can't wait to see more of your social proof out in the world. Start simple. Just start capturing in the most simple way, and start creating in the most simple way, and start publishing just in, the 1 or 2 or 3 ways you can, and let that momentum build. Cannot wait to see all the success that comes your way as a result.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Content Sells podcast. Bye for now.